Hi, my name's Charlie Turnbull. We're going to talk coagulation of milk, which is just the beginning of the science that we're going to start understanding about how milk turns into curd. We know it does from level 1, but I think we need to get a bit fingernails dirty in the vat to find out what's going on. So we are talking coagulation. Let's move forward. What we have here, come on, my friend, is an understanding of what it is, right? So coagulation is the aggregation or aggregating or bonding together of the milk proteins. Milk proteins. What are milk proteins called? Caseins. I knew you knew the answer to that. Caseins. Okay, we actually have 4 different types of casein. You don't need to know this at level 2, but you will hear these words. So let's just say them out loud so we've got an awareness of them. Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta, and kappa. Alpha, beta, and kappa are Greek words for A, B, and C. So I imagine in the history of time that they thought there was alpha, beta, kappa, and then discovered there were variations on the alpha caseins. So we now have 4. Now, what they do is these 4 caseins bundle together in little balls, ball-like things, and we call them micelles. Now, micelles is a word used widely in organic chemistry, and they're basically bundles, for lack of a better word. So they're bundles of micelles. Now, the alpha 1, and beta, they sort of make it all. But the kappa caseins, they're like little hairs, and they stick out, and they make your little micelle look a little bit fuzzy. Now, I don't know if you know what I mean by a burr, but they're kind of little thistles that can stick onto your clothes when you're out for a walk. So they stick out like little hooks. Now, in the milk, all those little filaments, the kappa caseins, are negatively charged, which makes the whole micelle very antisocial. And it sits there bouncing around off other micelles in the milk, never forming a bond. It just doesn't. Now, it does that at whatever the milk pH, which is about 6.8. And at that pH, those little micelles are just the most unfriendly chappies in the world. Now, if we want to make those micelles bond and form the curds we need, somehow we've got to neutralize the negativity on those little kappa caseins, because they're like a force field around each micelle. So long as they're there, that negative charge there, they will never bond together. We won't get any form of bonding or aggregation. We will stay as milk. But fortunately, we have some magic techniques brought in by the bacteria to change the pH that will allow us to do that. But that's for another section. Right now, we're just going to slip on and talk about where the differences are between cows, sheep, and goats, and in terms of making these making coagulation. Now, you'll remember from the last session that sheep has a very high protein or very high casein level. So it can make pretty good gel, pretty good junket, some really strong junket. And it happens very quickly because the proteins are very available because there's so many of them. So sheep is like the big brother of, it makes really good curd. Cows, next in line, really does good. It takes longer than sheep or goat to make those curds form when you put the rennet in, but it's pretty good curd, and you can make really good hard cheeses out of cow's milk, as we all know, because we make it. Goats, lower protein, doesn't happen so quickly. You can see a little bit of coagulation quite quickly when you put rennet in, but it just sort of never gets going, if that makes sense. And the rennet bonds are weaker than in cow or sheep milks. So sheep, big rennet maker, a big curd maker. Then cows, very, very practical. Cow's milk makes good log sodas. Goats, not so much. And that's possibly why you see lots of lactic cheeses in goat's milk, because there is less need to, less benefit from the rennet. Okay, so let's wrap up on that one. We've got this idea of caseins in the milk. Different animals have different amounts of casein, and that casein, therefore, impacts on how the curd coagulates, which is why we see significant differences between different species, cows and goats, and then sheep. All right, that's the end of this section. Let's get me back on screen. I will see you for the next one when we start talking about the animals. All the best.